I was a CEO with 500 employees. Now I line up at shelters just to survive the night. My name is Marcus. 18 months ago, I had a corner office, a Tesla, and a daughter headed to Berkeley. I signed million-dollar deals over lunch. Today I count the hours until the shelter opens at 6 p.m. It didn't happen in one crash. It happened in stages I kept calling temporary. First, the board voted me out on a Tuesday morning. Then came the choice that changed everything. Sign their papers and walk away rich but silenced, or refuse and keep my dignity. I chose dignity. That choice cost me $2.8 million in severance. The Tesla became my bedroom. Whole Foods parking lot became home. I told myself it was just strategy while I figured out my next move. But $47,000 disappears fast when you're paying child support, storage units, and root canals without insurance. The morning they remotely disabled my car while I slept inside it, trapped until I begged them to unlock the doors, that's when temporary became real. Let me take you from that boardroom to the shelter intake line, where the social worker recognized me from newspaper photos. When you've built your whole life on borrowed confidence and other people's money, what happens when they want it all back? Marcus, we need to talk about the numbers. That's how it started. Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. sharp, in the conference room I'd picked out myself when we moved to the Palo Alto office tower. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see Stanford's campus in the distance. 5 venture partners sat around the walnut table I'd bought at auction from a failed startup. They weren't looking at me. They were looking at their phones, their laptops, the printouts in front of them. Anywhere but my face. The burn rate is unsustainable, said Trevor, our lead investor from Apex Ventures. He delivered this like he was reading a weather report. 2.8 million monthly against 400,000 in revenue. The math doesn't work. I knew the math. I'd been living with those numbers for 3 months, watching them get worse every Friday when finance sent the weekly reports. But knowing numbers and hearing them spoken in that room, my room, or what I thought was my room, felt different. The air conditioning hummed. Someone's phone vibrated against the table. Outside, a maintenance crew was pressure washing the parking garage. We've explored every option, Trevor continued. Bridge funding, down round, strategic acquisition. Nothing materialized. He finally looked up. The board has voted. We need new leadership. New leadership. Such a clean phrase for what was happening. I'd built this company from 3 people in my garage to 500 employees across 4 offices. I'd slept under my desk during product launches. I'd missed Sophia's school plays, her soccer games, the anniversary dinner that became the beginning of my divorce. All for this company. And now they called it new leadership. You have 6 hours to clear out your office, Trevor said. Security will assist you. Security. Like I was going to steal something. Like I hadn't personally recruited half the people in this building. Jennifer from HR, Jennifer who I'd hired when she was fresh out of Berkeley, who used to bring her dog to the office before we got too corporate for that, slid a folder across the table. Your severance package, she said quietly. It's generous. 3 million. Full vesting acceleration, 18 months of COBRA coverage. I opened the folder. The NDA was 12 pages long. The non-compete clause would prevent me from working in logistics, supply chain, or any related field for 3 years. 3 years of not being able to do the only thing I knew how to do. I need time to review this with my lawyer, I said. The offer expires when you leave the building, Trevor said. Sign now or forfeit everything. My phone buzzed. Laura calling from Portland. I declined it. This non-compete is too broad, I said. I can't work anywhere in tech with these restrictions. That's the package, Trevor said. Take it or leave it. The room got quiet except for the pressure washer outside, its rhythm like a heartbeat. I thought about Sophia starting Berkeley in the fall, about the child support payments, about the mortgage on an apartment I could barely afford even with my CEO's salary. 3 million would solve everything, but 3 years of silence. 3 years of not being able to explain what really happened. 3 years of letting them control the narrative. I'm not signing, I said. To Jennifer's face went pale. Trevor raised an eyebrow, the first emotion he'd shown all morning. Marcus, Jennifer started, please reconsider. I'm not signing. I stood up. Security was already waiting outside the conference room. Rick, who I chatted with every morning about his son's little league team. He wouldn't meet my eyes as he followed me to my office. I had a banker's box and 6 hours. 5 years of my life fit into that brown cardboard. The photos of Sophia. The patent plaques. The first dollar of revenue, framed. Rick stood by the door, checking his watch every few minutes at 3 p.m. I walked out carrying that box. The Tesla chirped when I unlocked it in the executive section of the parking garage. I sat there in the driver's seat, calculating. $47,000 in checking. 3 months of child support prepaid. Monthly obligations of $12,000 minimum. I called Laura back. Did they fire you? She asked, skipping pleasantries like always. They voted me out. How much severance? I didn't take it. The silence stretched between Portland and Palo Alto. You didn't take it. Her voice pitched higher. Marcus, Sophia's tuition, I know. Do you? Do you really? I said I'd figure it out. I always figured things out. But sitting in that garage, for levels underground, I felt the weight of the concrete above me. That night, I returned to my $4,200 a month apartment and started packing. The first night, I slept in my car. I parked in the Whole Foods garage in Palo Alto, the one on Homer Avenue where venture capitalists buy $15 smoothies. I'd been there 1,000 times before, grabbing lunch between meetings. Now I was there at 11 p.m. with 4 suits on hangers, a gym bag of toiletries, and a sleeping bag I'd bought that afternoon at REI with the cashier chatting about camping in Yosemite. I wasn't camping. The Tesla Model S has a feature most people don't know about. The seats recline almost flat if you adjust them right. I discovered this by accident, trying to get comfortable while keeping my dignity intact. From outside, you couldn't tell someone was sleeping there. The tinted windows helped. The car still looked like it belonged, like its owner was just inside shopping for organic produce. I hung my suits from the hooks above the rear doors, arranged my toiletries in the cup holders, plugged my laptop into the center console to charge. Everything had a place, organized with the same efficiency I'd once applied to supply chain optimization. This wasn't homelessness, I told myself. This was strategic frugality. A temporary adjustment while I figured out my next move. The garage stayed lit all night. Those harsh fluorescents that make everyone look sick. Around 2 a.m., another car pulled in 3 spaces over. An older Prius with a sunshade in the windshield even though it was dark. I saw the driver recline his seat, saw the pile of clothes in his back seat. We didn't acknowledge each other. There's an unspoken rule in parking garage living. You don't see me. I don't see you. At 3 a.m., security drove through. I held my breath, kept perfectly still. The yellow security truck paused near the Prius, then moved on. The driver knew the schedule. Now I knew it too. My phone alarm went off at 5:30 a.m. I needed to move before the morning shoppers arrived, before someone might recognize my car, recognize me. The 24-hour fitness on Forest Avenue opened at 5 a.m., but I'd learned to wait until 5:45 when the morning rush started, and I could blend in with the tech workers getting there. Workout before their 7 a.m. stand-up. Meetings. The gym membership cost $40 a month, a fortune now, but it bought me showers, bathrooms, and a locker where I could keep my interview clothes. I shaved in the mirror next to a Google engineer talking about his marathon training. Brushed my teeth while a Facebook PM discussed equity refreshers. My reflection looked the same as theirs. Clean-shaven, professional, ready for a productive day. After the gym, Starbucks. Then Pete's. Then Phil's. A careful rotation so no barista would notice I was there every day, nursing a single coffee for 3 hours while sending out job applications. My laptop screen showed 57 applications sent that week. 0 responses. The TechCrunch article hit on day 3. Failed logistics startup CEO refuses reality, rejects generous exit package. There was a photo from our last product launch. I'm standing at a podium, wearing my $400 Allbirds and a custom-tailored shirt, pointing at a growth chart that now looked like a sick joke. The article quoted sources close to the board, saying I was difficult to work with and refused to acknowledge market realities. My phone started buzzing. Former employees texting to say they were sorry, they were shocked, they hoped I was okay. I responded to the first few, then stopped. What could I say? I'm great, living in my Tesla. By the end of the first week, I'd developed a routine. Whole Foods garage from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Moved to the Caltrain station until 5 a.m. Gym at 5:45. Coffee shops from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Repeat. I told myself this was temporary. I'd been in worse situations and figured them out. Remember the series A when we had 2 days of runway left? Remember the supply chain crisis that almost killed Q4? I'd solve those. I'd solve this. But at night, lying in that reclined seat with the parking garage lights filtering through the windshield, listening to the Prius driver's quiet snoring 3 spaces over, I started to understand something. Problems in business have solutions you can model, strategies you can deploy. This wasn't a problem. This was something else. My phone buzzed. Sophia texting from Portland. Mom says you haven't sent the tuition check. Everything okay? I typed back. Just restructuring some finances. We'll handle tomorrow. The lie came so easily it scared me. After 3 weeks, security started leaving warning notes on my windshield. The orange warning notice was tucked under my windshield wiper like a parking ticket. Vehicle appears to be inhabited. Per City Ordinance 9.36.012, overnight parking for purposes of habitation is prohibited. This is your first warning. First warning meant there would be a second. Then a tow. I needed a new strategy. That morning, sitting in the Palo Alto library with my laptop, I built a spreadsheet, the kind I use to make for board presentations. Color-coded cells for different parking locations. Time windows based on security patterns I'd observed. Risk assessments for each spot. Stanford Shopping Center. Safe until 2 a.m. when mall security does their sweep. Caltrain Station. 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., but only in the commuter section. University Avenue Garage. Good for 1 night a week. Max I mapped out a 7-day rotation. No location twice in a row. Never the same pattern week to week. It was like designing a supply chain, except the product being delivered was me, and the warehouse was wherever I could park without getting arrested. My phone rang. Jim Bradley, my former VP of engineering. Marcus, hey, I just saw the TechCrunch piece. That's complete bullshit, man. Thanks, Jim. Listen, are you looking? Because we're hiring senior directors at my new place. That would be great. I'll send my resume. Oh, his voice changed. Actually, let me check on the REQ first. There might be some timing issues. You know how it is. I knew. The article had made me radioactive. Nobody wanted to hire the CEO who'd burned through $30 million in venture funding and walked away from a $3 million exit. That afternoon, I sat in a different Starbucks, the one on University, where fewer tech people went, and sent out another 20 applications. Senior director, senior manager. I was negotiating against myself, lowering my expectations with each submission. My phone buzzed. Sophia, Dad, I need to submit the housing deposit for Berkeley. It's $8,000. $8,000. I had $31,000 left. If I paid this, plus next month's child support, plus minimum credit card payments, I'd have maybe $18,000. At my current burn rate, gas, food, gym, phone, storage unit, that was 4 months. Maybe 5 if I stopped eating lunch. I'll transfer it today, I said. Are you okay? You sound weird. I'm fine, sweetie. Just in a coffee shop. Bad connection. Mom says you're having some business challenges. Business challenges. Laura's euphemism for disaster. Nothing I haven't handled before, I said. How's your calculus final going? We talked about derivatives and integrals while I watched my laptop battery die. I'd been rationing outlet usage, not wanting to overstay my welcome at any one coffee shop. When we hung up, I transferred the $8,000. My checking account balance stared back at me. $23, $847. That night, trying the Stanford Shopping Center for the first time, I discovered something new. Other people were living in their cars here too. A modified van with curtains. A Subaru with a mattress in the back. Even a newer BMW with someone inside scrolling on their phone. We all parked strategically apart, maintaining the fiction that we were just here temporarily. Just resting. Just waiting for the stores to open. At 2 a.m. sharp, security came through with flashlights. We all started our engines in sequence, a sad parade exiting in different directions to maintain the illusion we had somewhere to go. I ended up at the Caltrain station, parking between 2 commuter cars that wouldn't move until the 5:47 a.m. train. The schedule was becoming my Bible. When the street sweepers came, when the meters started, when security did their rounds. I knew the rhythm of peninsula cities better than most people who lived in houses here. My lower back had started aching from sleeping in the reclined seat. The gym showers were giving me athlete's foot. I'd worn the same rotation of 3 dress shirts to coffee shops so many times that I worried the baristas were noticing. One definitely was. A young woman at the Pete's who always gave me extra room in my coffee without my asking, like she knew I was stretching it with free refills. 2 weeks into my rotation, I got a call back. A Series B logistics startup in San Mateo. They needed a VP of operations. The recruiter was enthusiastic until she Googled me during our call. "Oh," she said, "you're that Marcus Chun from Tech Hub Logistics." "Yes." "I see. Well, we'll definitely keep your resume on file." That night, parked behind a 24-hour Safeway, I did the math again. 20,000 left. The root canal I'd been putting off was getting worse. The storage unit wanted a 3-month advance payment or they'd auction my belongings. Sophia needed textbooks for summer session. I opened LinkedIn on my phone and scrolled through my connections. 500 people I'd networked with, partnered with, hired. I started typing a message to David Kim, a CEO I'd mentored 2 years ago. "Hey David, I'm exploring new opportunities." I deleted it. Started another to Jennifer Park, who'd always said she'd hire me in a heartbeat. "Jennifer, hope you're well. I wanted to reach out." Deleted. Pride tastes like copper when you swallow it at 2 a.m. in a Safeway parking lot. The next morning, washing my face in the gym bathroom, I noticed the Starbucks barista from yesterday at the sink next to me. She pretended not to recognize me. I pretended not to notice her pretending. We both looked straight ahead at our reflections. Two people maintaining elaborate fictions in a 24-hour fitness bathroom at 6 a.m. Outside, my Tesla waited, looking less like a luxury car and more like what it had become, a $70,000 bedroom with wheels. The root canal pain that had been building for weeks became unbearable. The pain started as pressure, then became a throb, then became everything. By day 3 of trying to ignore it, I was buying Orgel at CVS at midnight, rubbing it on my gums in the Tesla's rearview mirror. The tooth, upper right molar, had turned gray. Without insurance, it's $3,200. The receptionist at Palo Alto Dental said, "Cash or credit only. No payment plans." I sat in their beige waiting room calculating. $3,200 from 23,000 left, 17,800. Minus next month's child support. Minus storage unit. Minus everything else that keeps a life from completely dissolving. "Sir, will you be scheduling?" The pain made the decision. They could fit me in that afternoon. Dr. Morrison had treated me before, back when I had Delta Dental's Platinum plan. He didn't mention the TechCrunch article, but his small talk was different. No questions about the company. No interest in my next venture. Just efficient drilling while KQED played overhead. I paid with my Visa, watching the receptionist run it twice when it declined the first time. "Try now," I said, having just transferred money from savings on my phone. The second swipe worked. That night, numb from Novocaine and lighter by $3,200, I opened my spreadsheet in the Starbucks on Forest Avenue. The math had become my evening prayer. 17,000 divided by my daily burn of $312. 54 days. Less than 2 months that I started cutting everything cuttable. Canceled Netflix, Spotify, the Wall Street Journal subscription I'd maintained since business school. Downgraded my phone plan until data became precious. Stopped buying coffee, just asked for water at coffee shops. The baristas knew. Some gave it free. Others charged 50 cents. The storage unit called. "Mr. Chun, you're past due. We need $1,200 for the next quarter, or we'll need to proceed with auction." $1,200 to keep my furniture, my files, the boxes of Sophia's childhood art I'd saved in the divorce. I told them I'd come by tomorrow. Instead, I spent tomorrow in the Safeway parking lot, refreshing email. 187 applications sent. 3 recruiter screens that went nowhere after they Googled me. 0 offers. The gas light came on while idling for warmth. $14 to fill enough to last 3 days if I minimized driving. I watched the pump numbers climb like a hospital heart monitor. Stopped at exactly 14. Thursday morning, the Tesla screens went black. Repo company had remotely disabled it. The screens were dead. Complete darkness where the dashboard should glow. I pressed the brake, pushed the start button. Nothing. The door handles, those sleek, retractable handles I'd once shown off to friends, wouldn't budged. I was trapped in my own CAR.my phone showed 5:47 a.m. Panic is a physical thing at that hour. It starts in your chest and spreads to your fingers. I pulled the manual release for the door. The emergency latch Tesla hides so well most owners never find it. Nothing. The car had become a $70,000 coffin. I called Tesla support. The hold music was Mozart. Mr. Chen, I see your account here. You're 3 payments behind. I'm locked inside the car. The doors won't open. Her tone changed. You're currently inside the vehicle? Yes. Sir, I need to transfer you immediately. A manager came on. Professional, careful. Mr. Chun, we're going to temporarily restore power so you can exit safely. You'll have 1 hour to remove your belongings before the tow truck arrives. The screens flickered on. The doors clicked. I pushed out into the morning air of the Caltrain parking lot, gasping like I'd been underwater. 1 hour. 5 years of my life in San Francisco, and I had 1 hour to pack it into garbage bags. I pulled everything out. Suits still on hangers. Gym bag. Laptop bag. Sleeping bag. Phone chargers. The emergency cash I'd hidden in the center console, $340. Box of protein bars. Bottle of antacids. The detritus of car living that looks pathetic spread across asphalt at sunrise. The tow truck arrived at 6:52 a.m., 8 minutes early. The driver avoided eye contact as he winched my former bedroom onto his flatbed. Where you headed? He asked, professionally neutral. I looked at my pile of garbage bags. Walking. University Avenue stretched ahead. 7 blocks to the Opportunity Center shelter. I'd driven past it 100 times, never really seeing it. Now I was walking toward it carrying everything I owned in 4 hefty bags. A jogger passed, AirPods in, eyes fixed ahead. A delivery truck rumbled by. Normal morning life happening around my extraordinary collapse. The bags were heavy. The suit bags dragged on sidewalk. By block 3, sweat ran down my back despite the morning cool. The Opportunity Center was a beige building with small windows. A line already forming outside. Men mostly, some women. Everyone with that same careful blankness I was learning to wear. I stood at the back, garbage bags at my feet, watching the door that would open at 7 a.m. sharp. Next, the intake desk was industrial metal under fluorescent buzz. The woman behind it had seen everything, and I was just Tuesday morning. First time. I nodded. ID. I handed over my license. She typed, fingers flying across an ancient keyboard. Emergency contact. I thought of Laura in Portland. Sophia at school. None. She looked up, first real eye contact. Then back to her screen. Any medical conditions requiring medication? No. Weapons? No. Are you currently experiencing homelessness? The question seemed absurd while standing there with garbage bags, but I understood. Protocols required exact words. Yes. She printed a wristband. Blue plastic with a number, 47B. Bed 47, B dormitory. Lights out at 10, wake up at 5, must vacate by 6 a.m. Showers are 6 to 8, morning and evening. Dinners at 5:30. No drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, no fighting. Break the rules, you're banned 30 days. Understand? Yes. She pointed down a hallway that smelled like industrial disinfectant fighting a losing battle. The dormitory was a warehouse of humans. 80 beds in rows, like a barracks, but with none of the military order. My bed, a metal frame with thin vinyl mattress, sat between a man muttering to invisible enemies and another reading a paperback with half its cover missing. I set my bags under the bed. Sat on the mattress edge. The man with the paperback glanced over. First night. Yeah. I'm Raymond. Boeing. 15 years until. He tapped his temple. Traumatic brain injury. 3 years ago. You, Marcus. What was I? Tech. The fall's not the hard part, Raymond said, returning to his book. It's the landing that keeps going. Someone 2 beds over started yelling about satellites stealing his thoughts. Nobody reacted. This was background noise, like the fluorescence hum or the distant sound of someone crying. Dinner was shepherded chaos. 200 people, 30 minutes, industrial food that was calories more than cuisine. I sat with my tray, something brown over something white, while men discussed whose fault their situations were. Government, economy, immigrants, tech companies. Everyone had a villain. My phone vibrated. 3 missed calls from Laura. I stepped outside to call back. Where are you? Sophia says you're not responding. I'm in transition. What does that mean? I'm between places. Marcus. Her voice carried 15 years of knowing my evasions. Are you in a shelter? The word hung between us. It's temporary. Jesus Christ. That night, lying on the vinyl mattress, someone's snoring to my left, someone's mumbling to my right. I understood Raymond's warning. This wasn't bottom. This was just where the landing started. Day 29 at the Opportunity Center. I knew because they'd warned me. 30 days maximum. Then you had to leave for 30 days before returning. The circuit, they called it. I was sitting outside the Palo Alto library, using their Wi-Fi to apply for jobs when my phone rang. Sophia. Dad. Hey, sweetie. Mom says you're not answering her calls. Laura had called 6 times this week. I'd answered none of them. What would I say? Yes, I'm sleeping in a room with 80 men. Yes, I shower on a schedule. Yes, your father is exactly where you feared he'd end up. Just been busy with interviews. I said. Really? That's great. Which companies? The lie branched and grew. Several in early stages. You know how it goes. Lots of rounds. Dad. Her voice dropped. Mom knows you're not living in your apartment anymore. My throat closed. She called the building when you didn't answer. They said you moved out 2 months ago. 2 months. Had it been that long? Time worked differently now, measured in meal times, shower slots. The daily exodus at 6 a.m. I'm staying with a friend while I figure things out. I said. Which friend? You don't know them. Dad, please don't lie to me. I'm 18. I can handle truth. Truth. Your father sleeps in a shelter. Your father eats from paper plates. Your father wears the same 3 shirts because that's all that fits in a garbage bag. I'm in transitional housing, I said. Half-truth felt better than full lie. Is it safe? Yes. It's fine. How's your English composition class? Dad, please, Sophia. Tell me about school. She did. 20 minutes about professors, roommate drama, the statistics class destroying her GPA. Normal problems from a normal world. I closed my eyes and let her voice wash over me, sitting on that library bench while the afternoon shadows lengthened. I have to go, she finally said. Dad, yeah, I love you. Love you too. After we hung up, I sat with the phone in my lap. Inside the library, people browsed books, used computers, lived their regular Tuesday afternoon lives. A security guard watched me from the doorway, the same one who'd started recognizing me. I stood, walked to the shelter before he could ask me to move along. That night at dinner, Raymond didn't show up. His bed was stripped by morning, belongings gone. Nobody knew where. That's how it worked. People disappeared without warning or forwarding addresses. Day 30. I rolled my garbage bags tight and walked out at 6 a.m. Officially homeless again. The Redwood City Navigation Center had different rules. 90 days maximum, but you needed a referral. I got one from a social worker stationed at the library who'd noticed my daily presence. You're not the typical profile, she said, printing the form. Education, employment history, MBA from Wharton. Former CEO. She stopped typing. How long have you been unhoused? Unhoused. The polite term that changed nothing about sleeping outside. 3 months. She made notes. Any substance abuse issues? No. Mental health concerns. Only the crushing weight of falling this far. But that wasn't what she meant. No. You're lucky, she said, which seemed like the wrong word. You qualify for rapid rehousing programs. Let me make some calls. Rapid meant different things in different worlds. In tech, rapid meant daily deployments. In shelters, rapid meant maybe 3 months if paperwork aligned. Redwood City was cleaner than the Opportunity Center, but came with its own hierarchy. Veterans first, they'd earned it. Families second, kids changed the equation. Then the elderly, the disabled, the sick. Former executives who'd refused severance packages. Bottom-tiered MY new bed was in a smaller room, 20 men instead of 80. One of them, Tony, worked night shift at Amazon warehouse. For years I've been doing this, he said, showing me the employee badge he kept pristine. Save enough for first and last month's rent, but prices keep rising faster than I can save. Why not move somewhere cheaper? And go where? My kids are here. Job's here. Life's here. He was right. The geography of poverty was specific. Services clustered in certain areas. Move away from them, and you lost the network keeping you afloat. Week 2 at Redwood City, I got call back from a logistics company. Phone screen went well until they asked about the gap in employment. I've been consulting, I said. Oh, which clients? The lie fell apart immediately. They thanked me for my time. That afternoon, I sat in a McDonald's using their Wi-Fi and changed my LinkedIn. Removed the CEO title. Changed it to Operations Director. Deleted the TechCrunch article from my Google results where I could. Became smaller, less searchable, less radioactive. Jennifer, my former VP of sales, Found me anyway. I was standing in line at Sacred Heart Community Services in San Jose, waiting for the weekly food distribution when I heard my name. Marcus. She wore a volunteer vest, frozen between recognition and horror. Hi, Jennifer. Oh my God. What are you? I'm fine. She pulled me aside, out of line. Tried to press money into my hand. $100 bill, crisp from an ATM. Please, she said. I can't. Marcus, please. Just take it. Pride tastes different when you're hungry, but I walked away anyway, leaving her standing there with money in her outstretched hand. The cough started small. A tickle during the wet February that seemed like nothing. Everyone in the shelter had something. Coughs, colds, skin conditions that spread through communal living like gossip. By week 2, I was coughing hard enough to get looks during dinner. Week 3, the night supervisor suggested I see the clinic. Can't have TB spreading, he said. Not unkindly, just practical. The free clinic in San Jose ran Tuesdays and Thursdays. I arrived at 5 a.m. for the 8 a.m. opening. Still ended up number 43 in line. The waiting room was plastic chairs and fluorescent lights, filled with people who looked like me. Tired, patient, resigned to waiting as a life skill. Marcus Chun, the nurse practitioner, was younger than Sophia. She listened to my chest, frowned, listened again. How long have you been coughing up blood? A few days. Any fever? Maybe. Hard to tell. She ordered a chest x-ray, which meant another line, another wait. When results came back, her frown deepened. You have pneumonia. Severe. You need hospitalization. I can't. This isn't optional. Your oxygen saturation is 86%. You could die. Die. The word felt abstract until I stood up and the room tilted. The nurse caught my arm. I'm calling an ambulance. I can't afford. You can't afford not to. Stanford Hospital felt like entering a different dimension. Clean sheets. Adjustable bed. For antibiotics that worked with mechanical precision. For 5 days, I lay in that bed being repaired while rain hit. Windows overlooking the same hills where I'd once lived. A social worker named Patricia came on day 3. We need to discuss discharge planning. I'll go back to the shelter. You can't. Not with your condition. You need stable housing for recovery. She made calls, filled out forms with the efficiency of someone who'd done this countless times. Project We Hope had a bed in their transitional program. 6 months guaranteed. Case management included. You qualify because of your medical vulnerability, she said. Vulnerable. Another word I was learning to wear. Dr. Martinez, the attending physician, checked on me the last day. You're lucky we caught this when we did. Another week. He trailed off. Lucky. Everyone kept using that word. The discharge paperwork included follow-up appointments, medications, requirements. At the bottom, under emergency contact, someone had written, none available. David from Project We Hope picked me up in a van that had seen better decades. You're the CEO, right? Heard about you. My reputation preceded me. Even here, Project We Hope looked like a motel that had given up on tourists. 2 stories of identical doors facing a parking lot in East Palo Alto. But my room, not bed, had a door that locked. A single bed that was only mine. A small desk. A window with blinds I could close. David, my case manager, was 5 years clean from meth and 2 years housed. Tattoos climbed his neck, but his eyes were clear. Here's how this works, he said, sitting at my small desk. 6 months guaranteed if you follow the program. Daily check-ins first month, then weekly. You need employment within 90 days. We'll help, but you gotta do the work. I've sent hundreds of applications. For CEO jobs. No. Operations, management, anything. He looked at my intake form. MBA from Wharton. Man, that's wild. Systems not designed for people like you. So I keep hearing. But here's what you got going for you. No addiction, no mental health issues, no criminal record. You're what we call easy to house. Just need a reset. Reset. Like I was a computer that just needed rebooting. There's a job fair tomorrow, he said. Warehouse work mostly. Amazon, FedEx. Not what you're used to, but it's income. I'll go. That night, in my own room for the first time in 4 months, I sat on the bed and felt the walls. Solid. Real. Mine for 6 months. The couple next door argued about money through thin walls. Someone's TV played too loud down the hall. But behind my locked door, I could pretend at privacy that my phone had 17 unread texts from Sophia. Photos from college. Updates about classes. Normal daughter things. Carefully avoiding any questions about where I was living. I sent back a photo of my desk, cropped to exclude the recovery house paperwork spread across it. Nice space. She replied. Looks peaceful. Peaceful. I guess it was, compared to 80 snoring men. The job fair was in a community center that smelled like basketball games and floor wax. Tables arranged with corporate banners. Amazon, FedEx, UPS, logistics companies needing bodies to move boxes. I stood in the Amazon line. The recruiter was cheerful, practiced. Ever worked in a fulfillment center? I've worked in logistics. Great. Night shift pays $18.50 an hour plus differentials. For tens, 3 days off. Can you pass a drug test? Yes. When can you start? A week later, I was loading trucks from midnight to 10 a.m. in Tracy, 2 hours away by bus. My MIT MBA moving boxes sorted by an algorithm I'd once paid consultants to optimize. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, especially me. Transitional housing meant rebuilding in small steps. Bank account. Direct deposit. Saving for first and last month's rent somewhere. David checked in weekly, marking my progress on forms that determined my future. You're doing good, he said after month 1. Keeping the job? Yeah. Good. Stay boring. Boring gets you housed. So I became boring. Work, sleep, save, repeat. The extraordinary story of falling from CEO to shelter to transitional housing becoming ordinary through repetition. My back hurt from lifting. My feet hurt from standing. But every 2 weeks, a paycheck deposited. Sophia called on a Tuesday while I was on break, sitting on a loading dock at 3 a.m. Dad, I'm proud of you, she said, apropos of nothing. For what? For surviving. Present tense. She was proud in the present tense. That was enough to get me through the next 6 hours of boxes. The Amazon Fulfillment Center in Tracy was the size of 14 football fields. My employee badge said Marcus C., with a photo that made me look like someone who'd been awake for days. Which I had. Rate is 300 units per hour, the floor supervisor explained on my first night. Computer tracks everything. Fall below rate, you get written up. 3 write-ups, you're gone. The algorithm I'd once paid McKinsey $2 million to design now told me which box to grab next. A screen flashed. Item 234789. Bin J 7-45, 12 seconds. I ran. Everyone ran. Through aisles of products that formed a maze of consumer desire. My trainer was Eddie, 23, who'd been there 2 years. Used to be harder, he said. Speed walking to the next pick. Now the computer plans your whole route. Just follow the lights. Follow the lights. My new career philosophy. The shift ran midnight to 10 a.m. 4 days on, 3 off. By 3 a.m., my lower back screamed. By 6 a.m., my feet were numb. By 10 a.m., I understood why Tony from the shelter had looked so tired. Gets easier, Eddie said, watching me limp to the time clock. Or you get used to it. Same thing maybe. The bus ride back took 2 hours. I slept against the window, waking at stops to make sure I hadn't missed mine. Other night shifters rode the same route, all with the same exhausted lean. Week 2, I made rate. Week 3, I exceeded it. My body adapted, or broke in ways that felt like adaptation. I wrapped my knees like the veterans did. Popped ibuprofen like candy. Learned which energy drinks actually worked versus which just made you crash harder. You're different from most temps, Eddie said one night during break. How's that? You don't complain. Most people with college degrees, they complain constantly. You just work. I wanted to tell him that after sleeping in a shelter, standing in a climate-controlled warehouse felt like luxury. Instead, I just nodded. The paycheck was $740 after taxes. Every 2 weeks. I saved $500, spent $240 on necessities. David at We Hope tracked my savings on a chart. 3 more months, you'll have enough for a deposit. He said 0.3 months felt like forever and tomorrow simultaneously. My phone rang during lunch break. Unknown number. Mr. Chen? This is Rebecca from Northstar Logistics. We received your application for the operations manager position. My heart jumped. Yes. We'd like to schedule an interview. I had one good shirt left. Navy blue, wrinkle-resistant, bought from Ross for $19. The night before the interview, I hung it in the transitional housing shower, letting steam remove the creases. Northstar Logistics operated from an industrial park in San Carlos. Not prestigious, but real. I took 3 buses to get there, arriving an hour early. Sat in a subway next door, reviewing my prepared answers on index cards I'd made. Why the employment gap? Caring for a sick family member. Why the career change from CEO to manager? Looking for stability over titles. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Not in a shelter. But I prepared something about growing with the company. Rebecca, the HR manager, was maybe 30. She led me to a conference room that smelled like carpet cleaner. Your resume is impressive, she said, but unusual for this role. I'm looking for something sustainable. Building from the ground up again. Her boss, Tom, joined us. Midwest accent, firm handshake, the kind of guy who started in a warehouse and worked up. Says here you managed 500 employees. At peak, yes. This role manages 12. I'm comfortable with that. Pays 67,000. That's firm. 67,000. I'd spent more than that on a single conference once. That works, I said. They asked about systems, processes, logistics flows. This I could do. 20 years of knowledge pouring out, simplified but solid. Tom took notes. Rebecca nodded. You're overqualified, Tom finally said. Won't you leave when something better comes? The honest answer, maybe. The necessary answer, I need stability. My daughter's in college. I want something I can count on. When can you start? 2 weeks notice at my current job. Tom laughed. Amazon. They don't care about notice. But I did. Some habits die hard. They called 3 days later with an offer. I accepted immediately, then sat in my 6x8 room, crying for the first time since losing everything. Not sad tears. Relief tears. The kind that come when you've been holding your breath for so long you forgot what oxygen felt like. David helped me find an apartment. Studio in Stockton, 600 square feet, $800 a month. It's not fancy, he warned. It has walls and a door that locks. That's fancy enough. Move-in was a Tuesday. I owned 3 shirts, 2 pairs of pants, 1 pair of shoes, and a sleeping bag. The apartment was empty except for what I carried in 2 bags. That first night on the floor, I listened to normal sounds. A refrigerator humming. Neighbors watching TV. Life happening behind walls instead of around me. The studio in Stockton had brown carpet that might have been beige once. 1 window facing a check-cashing place. A kitchen with 2 burners that worked and 2 that didn't. But it was mine. Lease signed. Keys in hand. I stood in the empty space that first night, trying to remember how normal people lived. Bed, desk, chair. The basics felt foreign after months of having nothing. Goodwill became my furniture store. Salvation Army my department store. I bought an air mattress for $12 that leaked slowly enough to last most of a night. A folding table for $8. A single pot, a single pan, a single plate. Building a life from scratch at 46. The first week, I slept on the floor anyway. The air mattress felt too soft, too presumptuous. The floor was familiar, solid, unable to deflate. That new job started Monday. I took the bus 2 hours early, paranoid about being late. Northstar's warehouse was smaller than Amazon's, more human-scaled. The 12 people I'd manage were already at work when Tom introduced me. This is Marcus, your new ops manager. They looked at me with the suspicion reserved for outside hires. I understood. I'd have to earn their respect through competence, not credentials. Maria, the lead supervisor, had been there 8 years. She knew every process, every shortcut, every problem before it happened. You really used to run a big company? She asked during my first break. Different life. What happened? Bad decisions caught up. She nodded like that explained everything. Maybe it did. The work was familiar but different. Small problems with immediate solutions instead of abstract strategies with theoretical outcomes. A loading dock traffic jam. A inventory discrepancy. A driver calling in sick. Each issue resolved in hours, not quarters. Week 3, I got my first real paycheck from a real job. Direct deposit. $2,230 after taxes. I stared at the bank balance on my phone. Not much by my old standards, but it was mine. Earned. Legitimate. Sophia called that night. Dad, you sound different. Different how? Lighter. Like you're actually here instead of somewhere else. She was right. For months, I'd been living in the past or future, never the present. But that night, sitting on my air mattress with my phone and my small paycheck in my empty apartment, I was exactly where I was. I got a new job, I told her. Stable. With benefits. That's amazing. What company? Small logistics firm. Nothing fancy. Dad, nothing about you needs to be fancy. After we hung up, I walked to the window. The man who slept in the check cashing place doorway was arranging his cardboard. We made eye contact. Both nodded. Recognition between people who knew the weight of cardboard. 6 months into the apartment. The air mattress had been replaced by a real bed from Craigslist. $40. Had to borrow a truck from Maria to pick it up. The first night on an actual mattress, I couldn't sleep. Too much comfort. Got up at 2 a.m. and checked the locks twice. Work became rhythm. In by 7 a.m., out by 5 p.m. Numbers on spreadsheets. Trucks on schedules. Problems with solutions. Tom started trusting me with bigger decisions. Maria started asking my opinion instead of giving hers. "You're good at this," she said one afternoon, watching me reorganize the loading sequence. "I've had practice." "No, it's more than that. You see the whole picture while still handling details." The whole picture. Once that meant IPOs and board meetings. Now it meant making sure 40 trucks left on time with the right packages. Both mattered. Scale was just perspective. My desk. I had a desk now. Held 3 things. A computer, a coffee mug Sophia sent me, and a small calendar where I marked each day housed. Not counting towards something. Counting from something. Day 487. Fridays. I deposited my check and transferred $500 to savings. The account grew slowly. 3,000. 4,000. Numbers that meant nothing before now meant everything. David from We Hope called monthly to check in. "You're our success story," he said. "Mind if we use you for grant applications?" Success story. Former CEO lives in studio apartment and manages a warehouse. Success is relative. "Sure," I said. Laura emailed about Sophia's tuition. Polite, professional. "I know things have been difficult. Can you contribute anything?" I sent $500. Not much against Berkeley's costs, but something. She replied with just, "Thank you." No questions about where I was living or how I was managing. We'd reached a détente of lowered expectations. Sophia visited on a Saturday. Took the train to Stockton, then a lift to my apartment. I watched from the window as she got out, looking at the building with careful neutrality. "It's nice," she said, standing in my studio. "It's enough." She'd brought things. A plant. A framed photo of us from before. A coffee maker from Target. "Housewarming gifts," she said, arranging them like she was rebuilding my life in small increments. That we ate lunch at a Vietnamese place where a bowl of pho cost $6. She talked about school. I talked about work. Neither of us talked about the distance between where I'd been and where I was. "I'm proud of you," she said again. Present tense. "I'm just working. That's what I'm proud of." When she left, the apartment felt less empty. Not fuller exactly, just less empty. The plant sat on the windowsill. The coffee maker on the counter. Evidence of a life being lived. The LinkedIn message came on a Tuesday. I almost deleted it without reading. So many recruiters, so many rejections. But the name stopped me. James Weston, my former CFO. "Marcus, I hope this finds you well. I'm starting something new in supply chain optimization. Your experience, all of it, would be valuable. Coffee, all of it." Meaning the fall 2. I stared at the message for 3 days. Tom had just given me a raise, 70,000 now. Enough to live carefully, but well. Stable. Safe. Small. But James knew my whole story. Maybe that mattered. I replied. "When and where?" "We met at a Pete's in Palo Alto. Same one where I'd stretched single coffees across entire afternoons." James looked the same. Crisp shirt. Good watch. The uniform of success. I wore khakis from Target and the navy shirt that had carried me through everything. "You look good," he said, which meant I looked alive. "Thanks." He explained his startup. Series of funding. Real revenue. Needed someone who understood operations at every level. The phrase caught me. Every level. "I know what happened," he said. "The board, the shelter, all of it." My coffee turned cold while he talked. "That's why I want you. You know what it costs. Really costs. Not just burn rates and runway, but what failure actually means. I have a job. I know. This would be risky. But you'd be employee number 4. VP of operations. 120 base, equity that could matter. 120. Equity. Words from the before time. "I need stability," I said. "My daughter, I get it. But Marcus, you're wasting yourself in that warehouse." Was I? Or was I finally right-sized? "Think about it," he said. No pressure. That night, I sat with my spreadsheet. 70,000, stable, growing slowly. Versus 120, but with startup risk. The math was clear. The decision wasn't. Sophia called while I was calculating. Dad, random question. Are you happy? What brought that on? Just wondering. Are you? I looked around my studio. My $13 bed. My $6 dinner. My small, stable life. I'm okay, I said. That's not what I asked. After she hung up, I walked to the window. The homeless man was in his doorway, folding his cardboard with the same precision as always. He'd been there every night for 10 months. Stable. Predictable. Surviving. I opened LinkedIn and started typing a response to James, then deleted it, started again, deleted, the cursor blinked. Waiting for a decision about more than just a job. I met James again. This time at his office, a sublease in Redwood City, for desks in an open room that smelled like fresh paint and ambition. This is it, he said. Not impressive, I know. But I saw what it could be. The whiteboard covered in diagrams. The energy of something being built. The familiar buzz of possibility. Show me the numbers. I said that we spent 3 hours going through everything. Burn rate, $200,000 monthly. Revenue, $80,000 and growing. Runway, 18 months. The math was aggressive but not impossible. Why me? I asked. You could hire someone without my baggage. Your baggage is your value. You know what happens when it goes wrong. You'll see problems others won't. That night, I called Tom. I need to tell you something, I said. You're leaving. Not a question. I have an opportunity. Take it, he said. Marcus, you're good at this job, but you're capable of more. We both know that. Maria was less understanding. You're just another suit after all, she said when I gave notice. Maybe. What if it fails? Then I'll know I tried. She softened. Don't become an asshole again. Was I an asshole before? Probably. My last day at North Star, they got me a cake from Safeway. Good luck, written in blue frosting. I stood in the break room with people I'd managed for 8 months, eating sheet cake and feeling the weight of leaving safety for possibility. The apartment in Stockton suddenly felt too far from Redwood City. I found a room in a shared house in East Palo Alto, full circle to where WeHope had housed me, but paying market rate now. $800 for a bedroom with shared kitchen and bathroom. My housemates were decades younger, gig workers and grad students who didn't ask about my past. First day at James's startup, I sat at a desk made from a door and 2 sawhorses. My computer was refurbished. My chair was from Craigslist. Everything held together with determination and venture capital. Welcome back, James said back. But not to the same place. This was something new. Something informed by falling and landing and the long climb between. Week 1, I redesigned the fulfillment flow, applying everything from the warehouse floor to the CEO's suite. Week 2, I found 3 critical bottlenecks everyone had missed. Week 3, I hired our first warehouse manager, someone I'd met at the shelter job fair who'd been overlooked for having an arrest record. You sure about him? James asked. Everyone deserves a second chance. Speaking from experience. Yeah. The equity documents came week 4. 2% of a company that might be worth nothing or everything. I signed them remembering the $3 million I'd walked away from. Different choice, different chapter. Point 1 year into the new job. The startup had grown to 20 employees. Revenue hit $500,000 monthly. My equity was worth something on paper, though paper meant nothing until it didn't. Sophia graduated Berkeley on a Thursday in May. I wore my only suit, bought from Men's Warehouse with my first real bonus. Sitting in the stadium, watching her walk across the stage. I thought about the call I'd taken in the warehouse at 3 a.m. when she'd said she was proud of me. You made it, Laura said, standing next to me at the reception. Barely. Still counts. We were polite strangers now, connected only by the accomplished young woman accepting congratulations from professors. She told me about your new job, Laura said. Sounds promising. It's work. Marcus. She turned to face me. What happened to you? The shelters, the struggle, it changed you. For the better, I think. Before I could respond, Sophia appeared, diploma in hand, smile bright enough to power the city. Family photo, she asked, pulling us together. We stood there, divorced parents flanking their successful daughter, pretending at family for the camera. But Sophia's happiness was real, and that was enough. That night, driving back to East Palo Alto in my 2008 Civic, I passed the Whole Foods where everything had started. The parking garage had been redesigned, bright lights, security cameras, signs warning against overnight parking. Hostile architecture, they called it. Design meant to prevent what I'd done from being possible. I thought about stopping, walking through just to see, but kept driving. Some circles don't need completing. Monday morning, James called an all-hands meeting. "We've been acquired," he announced. Not life-changing money, but solid. The number was 12 million. My 2% meant $240,000 before taxes. Not CEO money, but money earned from bottom to top, informed by every step between. "You staying?" James asked after the meeting. "They want me. VP of Supply Chain. 150 base. Real company, real benefits." Real. The word that mattered. I said yes. The check cleared 2 months later. I paid taxes first. That lesson learned hard. Put 6 months of expenses and savings. Another hard lesson. Sent Sophia money for grad school applications. Bought a reliable car. Kept the rest invested conservatively. No Tesla. No luxury apartment. No attempt to rebuild the old life. Instead, I moved to a 1-bedroom in San Mateo. Nothing fancy, but mine. A place where Sophia could visit without worry. Where I could cook real meals on a stove with 4 working burners. Moving day, I packed everything I owned into my Civic. It all fit. With room to spare, the whiteboard in my kitchen tracks different numbers now. Not daily survival costs, but normal things. Utilities, groceries, the automatic savings transfer every month. At the bottom, smaller, I still keep the count. 1,247 days housed. The number grows, but the starting point remains. My job is ordinary in the best way. I manage supply chains for a company that makes medical devices. Nothing revolutionary. Nothing that will make TechCrunch. Just useful products that help people, delivered on time. My office has a door and a window. My colleagues know I had a previous startup, but not the details. That's fine. Sophia started grad school at Stanford, public policy, wanting to work on housing issues. "You influenced me," she said, though we've never talked directly about my time in shelters. Some conversations happen without words. We have dinner every Sunday. Usually somewhere cheap. She insists, says expensive restaurants make her uncomfortable. We talk about her classes, my work, anything except the 2 years when I disappeared into the machinery of poverty. But it's there between us, this understanding of how far things can fall and how long the climb back takes. Last week, my old CFO sent another message. Another startup, another opportunity. "You could be CEO again," he wrote. I deleted it without responding. CEO is a title from a different life, one built on borrowed confidence and other people's money. I prefer the solid ground of smaller ambitions. The homeless man still sleeps in the doorway of the check-cashing place near my old Stockton apartment. I drove by last month, delivering equipment to a warehouse there. He was arranging his cardboard with the same precision, each fold deliberate, conserving warmth, maximizing comfort. We made eye contact. Both nodded. He doesn't know my story. I don't know his. But we know something about each other, about the weight of cardboard and the geometry of survival. Sometimes I wake at 3 a.m., warehouse worker hours. Shelter wake-up time, the schedule my body internalized and won't forget. I walk to my kitchen, make coffee with the machine Sophia gave me, and stand at the window watching the empty street. These are the hours when I feel it most, the distance between who I was and who I am. The man I was had 500 employees, a house in the hills, and absolute certainty about his place in the world. The man I am has a 1-bedroom apartment, a stable job, and knowledge that everything can disappear between breakfast and dinner. I prefer the second man. He sees clearly. He knows what things cost, not just money, but dignity, health, hope. He knows that shelter is conditional, that success is relative, that falling is fast, but climbing is slow. My phone buzzes. Sophia, texting late from the library, studying housing policy. "Did you know 40% of Americans couldn't cover a $400 emergency expense?" I text back, "I believe it. We need systemic change. Start small. Help one person. That's not enough. It's everything." She sends a heart emoji. I send one back. This is how we talk about it without talking about it. Tomorrow is Thursday. Payday. I'll deposit my check, transfer the automatic savings, pay the bills that keep a life assembled. Small actions, repeated, that mean everything. I'll drive to work in my reliable car, solve problems that have solutions, earn money that's mine. In the evening, I'll come home to walls that lock, cook dinner on a stove that works, sleep in a bed that's only mine. These simple facts still feel like miracles sometimes. Not the venture capital unicorn kind of miracle I once chased, but the quieter kind. The miracle of ordinary life, earned back one day at a time. Outside, the first commuters are starting their early drives. The world is waking up to chase success, build companies, accumulate wealth. I watch them pass and feel no envy. I've been to the bottom of that mountain. The view from halfway up is clear enough that I close the blinds, rinse my coffee mug, the one Sophia gave me that says, "World's okayest dad," and get ready for work. Another ordinary day in my extraordinary normal life. The kind I once would have considered failure, but now understand as its own kind of success. The count continues. 1,248 days housed. Still counting from something, not toward it. The number grows, but the 0 point remains fixed. A coordinate in time that locates me, defines me, reminds me. Some people count days sober. Some count days since diagnosis. I count days housed. Each one a choice, a payment made, a door that locked behind me. Each one a small victory over the physics of falling, the gravity that pulls toward cardboard and doorways, and the terrible democracy of concrete. This is enough. More than enough. It's everything.